All organisms need nutrients and energy, but they don't just get infinite amounts of it for free. Nutrients and energy cycle through different organisms by different means. This helps plants and animals get nutrients and energy and transfer it to other organisms later. If nutrients and energy weren't transferred, there wouldn't be any to go around, and if it would stay with organisms when they die, the others wouldn't get any. There are three main cycles that we will be discussing today, and they are as follows: the main nutrient cycle with food webs and energy transfers, and the two types of biogeochemical cycles, local and global. Biogeochemical is a big word, but it's a pretty simple idea. Any cycle that involves biological, geological, or chemical cycles in this context is a biogeochemical cycle. First, we're going to cover the food web and energy transfers. Well, the pyramid is actually more of a triangle, which is actually more of a circle. There are two types of these organisms. Some are called autotrophs. Autotrophs are organisms that produce organic compounds using carbon, usually from the sun. Heterotrophs, on the other hand, cannot use carbon dioxide as their sole carbon source. Photoheterotrophs get energy from light, and chemoheterotrophs, like animals, get energy from eating other organisms. The energy and nutrients are transferred between these organisms so that all organisms can get the nutrients and energy they need. Plants get their energy from the sun, but they still need soil to grow. Then a herbivore or omnivore will eat the plant and get the plant's energy for itself. When this animal dies, it will eventually decompose, but sometimes the animal is eaten by another animal first, and that energy goes to the second animal. Sometimes the secondary consumer, the animal that ate the first animal, will be eaten by another consumer, and that animal may be eaten by another, and so on, depending on how long the food chain is for those animals. But sooner or later, the last animal in the chain will die on its own, and it will decompose, and then its energy and nutrients will decompose with it. This is done by decomposers, such as worms or fungi, like mushrooms. This is how each stage gets its own nutrients and energy in the nutrient/energy loop. But what about the other two cycles with other nutrients? Next, we'll cover local nutrient cycles. Many elements, such as phosphorus, calcium, and potassium, are mainly recycled through the soil. Because of this, the transfer of these nutrients are usually over a local scale, just over one ecosystem. First, we'll look at the phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is an element that is found naturally in rocks. These rocks can be destroyed over time, and that makes the phosphorus go down into the groundwater. It can go into the soil on the ground, and then go into the plants. After that, it goes into animals because the animals eat the plants. Then it could go to other animals when they eat the plant-eating animals. Then, through decomposition, or the animals getting decomposed, the phosphorus will return to the soil or go in water where they may become rocks later over time. This is the complete phosphorus cycle. Now, we'll move on to global nutrient cycles. This includes elements such as hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon. These elements can also be transferred through the soil and water, but they are mainly transferred through the sky. These nutrients may have to travel a long time before organisms pick them up, so they can travel extremely far. We'll start with the carbon cycle. Carbon dioxide, or CO2, is made up of elements carbon and oxygen. Carbon dioxide is taken in by plants for them to grow. Then, when animals eat these plants, get the plant's energy and return carbon dioxide to the air through breathing. Decomposers break down dead or decaying organisms and release carbon dioxide into the air. Carbon dioxide can also return to the air through things like forest fires, erosions, volcano eruptions, or the use of fossil fuels. There are also nitrogen and oxygen cycles, but they share similar concepts and movements with the carbon cycle, so we won't cover them today, as the carbon cycle gives a good example of a global nutrient cycle, and the phosphorus cycle gives a good example for a local nutrient cycle. Lastly, we will discuss balance and reliance of energy, nutrients, and animals in the food web and nutrient and energy cycles. Balance is important in nature, and the way nutrients and energy cycle in ecosystems is no exception. If lots of nutrients or energy spontaneously disappear one day, Many organisms will suffer because they won't have enough. This is why it's important to have a balance of energy and nutrients to go around through different organisms, and why those organisms rely on other organisms for nutrients and energy. It is very important that nutrients and energy cycle in ecosystems. Elements like carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, phosphorus, and nitrogen are essential to life and must be recycled in order for life to happen, and many nutrients are recycled in different ways, all contributing to a healthy and balanced ecosystem. In summary, all living things need energy and nutrients, whether that's from being recycled through the air, the ground, or other living things.